Hello everybody and welcome back to YouTube. Well, you guys have probably been on YouTube, but I haven't. I haven't been making videos, and today we are going to be restarting with our little Japanese airline we have started. I've called it Anime Air as I thought that was a pretty fitting name. One of the original kind of funny things I was trying to do was my airline code was AA, but unfortunately during testing for this world to try and find out where demand is, somebody took the code, so I ended up taking A1 instead, and the airline code is ANA. I would have really loved to have AA, but unfortunately I did not get either. One day I'll be like the first to sign up for a world, and I'll try and get that. Now, this one is pretty new. I've kind of just started it, and you can consider it like that, I guess. It's only about a year and a half old, but I haven't been able to play very much because as soon as this world started, it was November or September 2001, and I think we all might know what happened in September 2001, which lowered air traffic demand a little bit. So that kind of stunted my growth for a bit, but now we're starting to make a very good profit again. Airplanes have been decently hard to source in this world. If we take a look at my aircrafts, I'm using some very strange fleets. As you can see, there's a lot of 747s, which are in general terrible. In Airway Sim, they're very inefficient and just in general easy to compete with because smaller aircrafts kind of dominate the point-to-point marketplace. And of course, in a game like Airway Sim, where there's no transfers, everything is point-to-point. So we're not looking at the best aircrafts here, but I have a plan. So every single Airway Sim game, you have to make a plan, and what this plan is based around is three things. What are the used aircraft available? What is your demand market like? And what are your planes going to be flying in the future? And then lastly, I would say is your competitors. A lot of people look at competitors first, but I think as long as there are slots in your base airport, and basically unless you're in an extremely major US airport, say like Atlanta, LAX, Chicago, or like maybe London Heathrow, and there's only a couple other airports that become slot restricted. What a slot restricted airport means is your ability to compete with your competitors is limited by slots. Luckily, Tokyo Narita is not one of those airports. It, in any world, almost never becomes slot restricted, so you always have enough slots to make competition. And when that is the case, basically frequency, in theory, is usually always the winner. So the next thing you have to do after you've made sure your airport isn't slot restricted, which is most airports in general, so you'll rarely have to worry about it anyway, is you look at your competitors. And my main competitor is Supreme Airlines. Now this airline is surprisingly poorly run. His home base is Narita, which is shared with me, and he has some very good cargo numbers for this early in the game. Now, why do I think he's not a very threatening competitor? Well, his profit margin is only 14%, and his aircraft fleets are plenty. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 aircraft fleets, which he is actively flying, and I don't see what he is going to consolidate to easily. Now, there are ways to consolidate. A300s can be consolidated into 757s. MD-11Fs can be consolidated into A330Fs, and if he takes these options, he's going to become a very fearsome competitor. But if he doesn't do this in time, what is going to happen, and in time is in the next few years, which is kind of his limit for the amount of time he can take to consolidate into 3 fleets, he's going to be in real trouble because his number of aircrafts, and he is an active player, so it's going to keep growing. And as you keep growing, the penalty as a percentage of your company taken by running more than 3 fleet types, which is a big problem in this game, is going to kind of stack up and up and up, and the fuel price is going to skyrocket soon. Because this world is brand new, the fuel is dirt cheap. We're paying 250. Ooh, this is a great time to hedge, actually. So let's do a 12-month 100% hedge. Once this green line is up here, it becomes a great time to hedge your fuel. Hedging basically means you pay a little bit more for your fuel, but the price remains flat for the duration of the hedge. So if this fuel price goes up a lot, I'll save a lot of money. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. But what I'm saying is, as the fuel price goes up, he's going to be in real trouble as he is stuck on many fleets. Now, of course, if he does consolidate quickly, he's not going to have a problem. But even if he does, he's still going to be stuck on the following fleets. He's going to have A330, 757, and 767. Like, these are good fleets, especially the 757, but it's not uncompetable with. And there would be multiple ways to compete with this, the easiest of which would just be to fly 757s with him in a manner which is not making or losing money. It's just neutral. Obviously, your company needs to make some money somewhere else, so basically I'd go into a secondary base and try and pull cargo demand to there. This is kind of convoluted, but basically my plan for this world, at least, is based around the fact that this guy probably won't make it as he keeps too many fleets and grows large. Now, if that doesn't happen, we could be in for a pretty interesting battle where I don't think it is easily possible to eliminate this player. As I said, Tokyo Narita is not a slot restricted airport, but the cargo demand from here is so high with Japan's excellent exporting nature and the extreme population density and industrialization of the Tokyo area. Yeah, the profit margins will be insane. So with that, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to kill him if he consolidates his fleets, but it does look like he's going to kill himself. Now, our second competitor here, Voy Air, I'm not too concerned with because his airline does not seem focused around carrying cargo. He's another player who's running 4 fleet types. I'm not sure what he's trying to do here, but I'm guessing he's going to consolidate 737, 3400, 500 fleet into A330s, and then he's going to fly these 3 fleets. Once again, he is not focusing at cargo at all. He only has, a few 767 freighters, 50 of them. It should be relatively easy to compete with 767 freighters because I can fly 757s against them. And he has no 757s in his future, which is always a good thing if you're looking at cargo competitors, because if there's no 757s, you can easily compete. That is a general rule of thumb. Now, my last competitor I wanted to showcase, because it's pretty interesting, is actually an Elite Alliance member. Unfortunately, I joined this world late and was not able to become a part of Elite Alliance. I joined about 2 years after the game start date, which is why I'm much smaller than all these other companies. He's based in Tokyo Haneda, and Tokyo Haneda is competing with Tokyo Narita for cargo. But once again, I am not too concerned. Let's take a look at the main competitors here. Air Kawaii and JetGo were the 2 cargo flyers. Alright. Kawaii Air looks like a okay player. 757s. And JetGo also looks like a decent player. 757s. Well, there's actually a very extreme weakness that 757 players have when you're not based in the same airport as them, and this is why I specifically chose Narita. With Narita, I have to deal with the strange slots, the curfews, the difficult scheduling, but I think it's worth it when compared with the fact that I won't have to compete against 757 flyers. Now, how am I going to compete with 757 players? Now, many people do not know this, but the way demand is selected when you are planning a route, let's go ahead and look at a route. Tokyo Narita to North America. Let's use Detroit, for example. We see that there's some current demand and there's some potential demand. Now, this way this demand splits, the biggest contributing factor is simply the supply. And let's say Tokyo Narita is supplying more cargo demand than Tokyo Haneda. Well, then I'll simply get more of the cargo demand. And this is where flying large aircraft, the 747, 777, come in handy. because even though I won't be making money myself, because I'll be having extreme oversupply margins. If you imagine, for example, I had 2 flights of 777s, each one would be flying 20% empty to just be about neutral money or losing a slight amount of money. But the 757s flying there from Haneda need 3 flights to equivalent the demand that 1 777 can fly, and 1 777 is a lot cheaper to operate than 3 757s. So it's going to be an interesting battle to see if I can become the monopoly of Tokyo Cargo, and if I can, I might be able to do a 30 billion per quarter company, which would be really cool. I don't think it's ever been achieved before in a regular game world. The highest I've seen is 24 billion from a player who achieved a near monopoly, I think a monopoly in LAX, which I have never seen before, which was quite impressive. But yes, with that in mind, let's go ahead and take a look at our scheduling and what kind of routes we're making. Now, due to the lack of freighters, let's show something here. Due to the lack of freighters in this game world available from the used market, the amount of open cargo demand is truly astonishing to the US. If we take a look at the third page here and just like scan some of these routes, we can see there's enormous untapped potential and current demand. Yeah, it's just waiting to be taken, and that is my plan. Now, how am I going to take this demand? I haven't talked about my own fleet strategy yet. Now, my own fleet strategy currently looks pretty bad. These are the freighter I have because they're the only ones available. Now, my primary freighter is going to be the Boeing 757-200. I'm going to fly this freighter on every single route which has competition with other players eventually. Every single route which I don't have competition on, I'm going to fly a 747-400 until the 777-200 freighter comes out, which basically is a 777-400 freighter equivalent with higher range and more fuel economy. So that's going to be a great upgrade. And then these TriStars can simply be replaced 1-for-1 by 757s. I mean, the demand is a little bit higher on the TriStar and the range is a little bit higher, but that's okay. The remarkable efficiency increase of a 757 is not a problem. So, how am I going to consolidate these fleets? Well, it's pretty simple. I will simply turn my I'll turn my 747s-200Fs into 747-400Fs, and the combi planes, which there are no equivalent of, I'll simply replace with a 757 flight plus a flight of another type of aircraft. Probably a 767 or A330. I have not decided yet. The other option would be to forgo a very large freighter, which is not the 777. So only fly the 777 as a very large freighter, which is a possibility, and fly the A321F. That plane would be a freighter purely meant to compete with 757 flyers, but once again, I might not have to deal with one if I can kill Supreme Airlines. So this is really the challenge here. I obviously can't put pressure on him now. I've started significantly behind him in terms of size. I'm significantly smaller, so it's going to be a while before I can put any real kind of pressure on him. So I'll focus on growing my own company for now. So with all that in mind, let's go ahead and start opening some routes. Yeah, there's some pretty good options here. Let's start with Charleston. This is an airport which I should stop in PAFA, which is Fairbanks in Alaska. It has a nice long runway. It's a good place to stop over, and it's right in the middle. I mean, we'll see today how terrible the scheduling is from Narita due to the curfews and how difficult it is to get a good good timings and such. But yeah, it's all part of the challenge of flying to Narita, I guess. Let's go ahead here and yeah, we have to add a return stop, which is unfortunate because the 747 -200 has such poor range. We need to stop on both directions, which is kind of unfortunate. I'm kind of serious to see what kind of load factors, or not load factors, but payload I can get. And okay, perfect. 747. I keep saying 777 in place of 747. 747-200 has no payload limitations, thanks to the convenient wind. Oh, Charleston is one annoying. One annoying place to fly to, actually. Okay, if there's a 3-hour turnaround and I want to take off by 21, because there's not very many slots in 22, I need to take off even earlier than this, so I need to find takeoff slots before 7. Perfect, 750 has some takeoff slots. So we can go ahead and make this, yes, I wish to proceed, and go ahead and schedule this to our 747-200s. So now we can take off. Oh, I have made a crucial mistake. So let's go ahead and create another route like this, except with the proper turnaround times, because I've completely forgotten about the default turnaround times of using a new fleet type, which I have not done. So yeah, save this turnaround time. There we go. That was a bit unfortunate, and we can go ahead and close this route now. We'll go ahead and clean up all these unused routes later on. And now we can take off at 22:05 to our next destination. So I don't know where that is yet, so I'm just going to scroll through. Okay, take a look at this route. There's 200,000 potential, but there's only a little bit of current demand. That means this route is likely being served another way. Yeah, I mean, look at this. We got lots of big cities out here. Another way we can check is we can check with airport route maps. Let's see, airport information. Where's the airplane route map? Destinations, airport. Oh, here it is. I forgot. I'm tweaked. Yeah, well, there's no routes to Tokyo, but I'm sure one of these nearby cities does. Not sure which one. It'll take too long to find. But yeah, this is a good learning moment right here. That when you see a route like, well, I don't even know where my route opening page went, but it's okay. We'll make another one. Yes, playing this game often ends up with many tabs open, unfortunately. Not U.S. Virgin, United States. There we go. So yeah, that's not a great destination. We can go ahead and open a smaller plane, or when we get a more efficient plane, that'd be a good route to open, because it doesn't matter if you fly more emptiness on a smaller plane. You get to see how much demand you can pull and all that kind of such stuff. But yeah, I think Norfolk will be our next route. It's good because it's quite a distance, close to 6,000 nautical miles. Right now, I'm looking to open longer routes, and the reason being is for these longer routes, I can only fit 4 schedules a week to the US from Narita, almost no matter what. I simply could not find a way to fit 5 flights a week. It's not possible. And for shorter routes, there's simply no options. The problem is the other destinations, which aren't the US, simply don't have enough cargo demand to support flights easily. They could support smaller planes, you know, a 767, maybe even an A330, but you simply cannot fly, you know, a good old 747 on a tiny amount of demand. You are going to lose insane amounts of money. So yeah, that's a little bit of a problem. But for now, I mean, when we can get great routes like this, it's simply not a problem. We'll simply keep finding routes with tons and tons of open demand. And I know a route like the one I'm making now to Norfolk is completely open because, oh, that's the wrong day. It's completely open because I can see that there's so much potential demand even with no flight, or current demand even though there's no flight. My bad, being imprecise with words here. As you can see, there's 40,000 current demand. I mean, there's probably another 50,000 to Haneda, so I'll move that demand from Haneda to Narita simply by opening a flight here. So that's very, very nice. Now we need a shorter flight, so we need it to fit and be able to take off at night for the next day. That's what we're looking for right now. So a slightly closer destination, maybe Louisville or Tucson would be good. Yeah, Tucson looks fantastic. It's quite close, but if we can fit Louisville or a place at equivalent distance to Louisville, that would be fantastic too. Tulsa. Ooh, Tulsa has fantastic cargo demand, so I think I'm gonna try and open Tulsa here. Wow, like the demand numbers are simply awesome. Like, look at this. This is Indianapolis. This will be a great route to open because I already pulled a lot of the demand here, so it'll be immediately profitable. I'll probably open another route here soon. Pittsburgh. I mean, it's simply fantastic. Pittsburgh is probably another fantastic option for a final route for this plane, so that it'll immediately be profitable just from flying a route like that. Yes. Keep in mind, guys, when you're flying cargo, it's incredibly sensitive to route image. If you have low route image, you will have very small amounts of cargo, and that's just the way it is, unfortunately. I have no idea if my lower range 747s are going to be able to complete this return trip non-stop. The reason why I don't stop on the way back and I do try and stop on the way there is if we take a look at the cargo demand in reverse. I mean, this is, you know, a factor of 10 less. It's almost nothing. It doesn't even pay for fuel on the way back. But what it does do is it means that the plane can fly mostly empty on the way back, and the plane has very good payload on the reverse stream. See, it's actually almost exactly enough, but like I'm not sure if some of these shorter range planes will make it. As you can see, it's only got 2,000 nautical miles of range, and it should make it on the way back. Okay, just about. Very nice, very nice. So even the lower range, I always look to buy the higher range planes, but even the lower range ones I did buy seem to be able to make it. So let's go ahead and add this scheduled route in, and as you can see, we're just in time to take off for a final flight. It doesn't matter what distance it is, because I won't be able to fit another flight anyway, maybe except to Tehran, so we'll see. So this is Tokyo Narita to Tulsa. That's what we just opened. I think for a final flight I'm gonna want to go for where are we trying to go, guys? Where are we trying to go? I think let's take a look at some of these routes we opened previously. Frick. Damn, Supreme Airlines gotta compete with me. See, the problem with this is because I already opened a 747, I don't want to open another one against this MD-11 because, I mean, I'll just lose more money than he does, which is a good reason that maybe I'll eventually want to switch my planes to the A330F, which is an option instead of the 777F, and here's my reasoning. The 777F has one major advantage over the A330F. Actually, it has multiple major advantages. Let's go to a different world and take a look at these two planes and compare them. Yeah, because this is going to be a really... Oh, some of my planes have... Oh, okay, no, this is the wrong world. Okay, that's okay. I'll fix that. I'll fix that in a second, guys. Let's go to Airline Generations. This is my other world. I mean, this world is printing cash, as you guys can see. I have hundreds of unused planes. I'm just, kind of chilling this world out. There's no need to seriously compete anymore because I'm not in serious contention for any achievement that I'm really caring about. I mean, it would be nice to be first in airline value, but Steeb Airways and 1,000 Wings are just vastly more profitable than me right now. I'm not sure how we can catch up, but we'll see if we can make it happen. I doubt it because this world is not a priority anymore. But what I was going to do here is compare some aircraft. So let's go ahead and look at new aircraft. And this is the main comparison I want to make, because these are the two best freighter planes in the entire game for a very large. Best freighter plane in the game is 757. Let's go ahead and compare. So this is 4,000 nautical miles of range. Why this isn't very important from Tokyo is the main demand is to the United States. And the United States, you cannot fly directly with either of these planes. I mean, this has fantastic range, but most flights, you're going to want to fly the maximum payload, which is going to require you to fly with a stop. Only the very few select destinations are around this range, where like it's not really worth stopping for. But anything maybe above 6,000 or 5,500 nautical miles, you're going to want to stop. Otherwise you're losing too much payload. I mean, one stop is probably only worth about 10,000 kilograms of payload. So yeah, but like, what is interesting is the fact that there's 103,000 kilograms of demand, and if we take a look at the fuel burn, 6,600 versus 5,000. Good the plane is, it uses, let's do some math here, 6,600, 5,000, what was it, 300 divided by 6,600, it uses 20% less fuel for 30% less payload. There's a lot of set costs for a flight, like the pilots, they all cost the same. The maintenance costs, let's take a look at this. $20,000 for an A-check. 15. That's a pretty big jump, 25% jump or so. The flight speed is comparable. The range to Europe is going to be a one-stop for a 777F, which is actually a considerable. With the operation cost of a 777F only being about 20% higher, if I were to guess, maybe even less, because there's the same two crew. That's a fixed cost. The route fees are roughly fixed. I mean, they scale slightly. What I mean by route fees is overflight fees, takeoff fees. They're roughly comparable. So we can consider them flat costs. It really does look to me like the 777F is the better option. The production line is less crowded, so I should be able to source them just as easily. The production line for 777Fs is quite slow, but I think the plane is just too good. It's profitable on about 25% load factor or less. Well, this is profitable on a slightly lower load factor, probably even like. I feel like I just have to go to the 777F. The plane is too good. The plane is too good. I won't use frequency to compete with those routes, I guess. I'll just have to compete with other routes. It's okay. Yeah, we'll make it work. We'll make it work. The other way to do it is simply to cover more of the market. So you use profitable parts of your market to compensate for unprofitable parts, and I just overlap his flights. Kind of dumbly, blindly just overlap his flights with big, inefficient, very large aircraft. I think that's another way to do it. Like, it sounds silly, it sounds dumb, but at the end of the day, it's, I don't think that bad of a thing if you are profitable enough. So yeah, that's gonna be another part of my plan, I guess. I'm just gonna overlap him with 777s. That way, when he dies too, I won't have to worry about it, because I'll have perfectly the amount of demand. So I'll just always supply however much demand there is, regardless of how much he's supplying. So for example, let's just say he was flying this route and the demand was filled. I would just add another flight of 747 just to make it so that I have the same amount of demand as current demand, And then when he dies, hopefully, then it'd become perfect. And if he doesn't, well, we tried. We will have tried, and we'll have profitable parts of our company to kind of pay for that. I've never had a good competitive cargo world where I'm actually competing for somebody for cargo. Usually people just roll over and die, or they're simply unkillable. I'll give you an example of this. If a player is flying cargo out of London Heathrow, they are an invincible player. They cannot be killed because there's too much cargo demand for you to compete with. The only way you can do it is if you are based in another London airport. Stansted, Gatwick, Luton, okay, whatever, the list goes on. Any of those London airports, if you're also there, you can compete. But you have to have your main base there, because you're going to need many slots worth of aircraft to pull away enough demand from London to make the player unprofitable. I think that's one of the biggest kind of weaknesses of the cargo system in general, is the fact that players who fly it are invincibly profitable. Once again, if the only way to kill a player is by to have the availability of a base, being based in a specific base, I think that's a problem. I think it wouldn't be so much of a problem if there was free, no out-of-base aircraft limit, because if you guys didn't know, there is a limit in this game where if you can only have a certain number of aircraft operating outside your main base. Now, this is to stop single airlines from dominating entire markets. Personally, I'm not a big fan. I feel like a big airline should be able to dominate an entire market if they're the best airline there, but at the same time they shouldn't be able to, because a big airline will never be able to specialize with just 3 fleet types as hard as another airline with a more specialized focus can. Let's take Europe for an example. You have 3 fleet types to cover all the demand in Europe. What does every single player pick if they want to go as sweaty as possible, as try hard as possible? You'll see A320 or A320 or 737. Okay, you'll see that guaranteed. You'll see 757, and you'll see one of 777, A330, which will be the most common one, and the most best choice is A330. And then you'll see maybe some guys flying Dreamliners or A350s and using 757s as their largest cargo plane. Well, here's the thing. The player there will never be able to source enough 757s to really compete with all the demand. You'll need to fly a larger plane, so they'll be forced into A330Fs. If they're flying A330Fs, then they'll be vulnerable to competition from people flying A321Fs. And once again, these are all fleets they have, but they simply don't have enough planes to take all the demand like this. And if they choose to use A320s as their smallest fleet type, they'll be vulnerable to people flying medium-sized aircraft in the domestic demand market. Yes, they will be fantastically profitable. And they'll be fantastically large compared to how big the biggest airlines can be currently. But will they be able to dominate all markets? No. And the closest they could get is if they pick the 3 fleet types I mentioned above. If they pick anything else and they exclude the 757, which is a very common choice, they simply won't be able to compete on all the markets. Any 757 flyer will be able to run over their very large competitors until 2017, where they get access to the A321F. What I'm talking about is, the frequency spam meta of Airway Sim means that only players who are flying the most frequently can win in the same market. And larger airlines won't be able to do that because they just won't have the time and the time to compete. And if they do, that's an insane player. I mean, yes, without the out-of-base restriction limited, you would see probably 4,000 aircraft airlines would be possible. But, I mean, they'll be limited by aircraft delivery speed at that point. And they'll dominate, 1 or 2 more main bases. I don't see that as a problem, because I see the current problem in this game not as too much competition, it's a lack of competition. I, for example, have never been bankrupted since I discovered cargo. I just don't even believe it's possible at some point. Like, people warn me, don't fly your 747Fs, don't fly your 777Fs. Nobody has ever come to compete with me hard enough so that it's been a problem. And if they do, what's it called? It has to be from somebody based in your main base. And no sane player is going to look at all the bases out there and compete with the guy who's already doing really well. There's only so many great players in this game. And at some point, we know all of them. And we simply don't pick the same bases. So we don't have that problem. I'm going to have a fun time trying to compete with other players here with trying to kill players flying cargo in Haneda, in Narita. I think that's going to be a really, really, really fun challenge. So I can't wait for that. But other than that, yeah, I don't know, like, other times how I've ever felt about competition. I just never felt there's been enough competition, never too much. So I really wish they lifting out of base restrictions, or massively increasing the number of out of base aircraft. Because once again, 3 fleets is simply not enough to capture all the demand efficiently. Somebody will be able to find a niche that they can do better than you. And that's my favorite way to run an airline, actually, is to start in a niche and then become the competitor. Even in the busiest hubs, as long as there's slots, you can compete. Because you'll be able to find a niche which the main player there can't do as well as you, and then you'll be able to grow out of that niche. You'll be able to start competing with him like for like on all of his routes, and because you're smaller, you'll always have a higher efficiency than the larger player. And what I mean by that is you'll have a higher margin. And as long as you have a higher margin, you can keep growing and keep growing and keep growing until you're at equilibrium. Eventually, assuming you don't run out of slots. I mean, slots is the kind of big neutralizer here. If you run out of slots, then there's nothing you can do. But I think that's kind of an interesting thing, because that unlocks more gameplay options for players. Instead of being the best airline, you can try and slot lock airports. It's a respectable kind of method of gameplay, I guess. So I don't mind it. Okay, here's Hanover. There's really good passenger demand to this airport. The cargo demand is mostly taken, which is pretty interesting. Here's Berlin. Looks like the passenger demand is starting to be filled, so it's not going to be for me. The cargo demand is very excellent, however. There's even some untapped. I'll be able to scoop most of it, so I'll open this route too. Berlin and Hanover. What about Nuremberg? The passenger demand is quite low. The cargo demand is good, once again. But with the low passenger demand, I don't think it's enough for me to feel like it's worth it. Especially because I won't be competing with anybody. I would rather be competing with Supreme Airlines. It feels better. Alright, so those are going to be some of my first passenger routes. Wasn't Berlin, right? I short your memory. Okay, it was Berlin. Berlin and Hanover. Alright, let's go. Let's do Hanover first, simply because I want some passengers. I don't know the timing for this route, so let's find out. If we go with this, and we take off at 7 o'clock, because I know there's open slots in the 7 o'clock range. We arrive back at 9:55. Okay, very nice. The cargo demand is perfect. Let's go ahead and select something like that. Make sure, yeah, that's good. Alright, let's go ahead and open this route up. I really wish there was another combi plane. Like a Dash 400 combi plane. I'm pretty sure it exists in real life, right? Let's look it up. 747 Dash 400 combi. Does this exist? Okay, let's take a look at Wikipedia here. Variants. Yes, there is a compy variant. So why don't we have a compy variant in the... Alright, that's a feature request right there. Why is there no... Because you could legitimately fly 747-Classics to the end of the game if there was a combi plane. Like, just as a flex, almost. Like, it's the same fleet group, actually, as the Intercontinental. I would love to fly Intercontinentals to the end of the game. That would be a dream scenario, but you simply can't if you want to be competitive. But at some point, when do you say fuck being competitive and say hello to fun? I would love that. Let's take a look at Dusseldorf. Yeah, demand's a bit saturated with Berlin's main airport. Tegel. I should open this instead of the other one. It's better. Hamburg. Passenger demand is a bit over the top. So I think we go Berlin Tegel. Yes. I chose this one over the other Berlin airport because the other Berlin airport has less cargo demand to it, so why bother moving the demand when you can just fly to the demand? I mean, it doesn't affect me very much either way. It doesn't affect my competitors very much either way. So let's go ahead and open this route. Perfect. 18. Okay, so we're gonna eventually need an overnighter, so I'm gonna see how we do that. The other option is we have a really short route. Let's see. I know there is cargo demand to Iran, and this is good because I know there is also passenger demand to Iran. So I could make an Iran from Iraq joke right now, so not bad. Alright, there's passenger demand. It's a little bit oversaturated. Oh, what is... I could fly a straight up 747 there. Yeah, screw combi plane here. I can use this as a actual destination for a full-on 747 later on. Ooh, this is good cargo demand too. Wow, there's so much cargo demand to Japan. I think the cargo numbers are tuned quite high this game, which is fantastic. So you should in a bit see me having a lot of fun with the cargo demand. I think India is also a bit too far to reduce the time in the day. Wow. This is another route which I should replace the Lockheed flight with a 747 flight. It will be another fantastic use of a 747, or I could add a combi flight here. Let's see, does Mumbai have nearly the demand as New Delhi? No, it kind of doesn't because it's kind of fragmented. Well, I think I'm gonna waste that flight. Waste this on a combi plane flight just for scheduling purposes. Yeah, let's do a 100-200 flight at 18:10. I think I want to kind of cut down like 10 minutes on the turnaround time. Let's see what it does to the delay chance of a 747. You really don't want to delay a 747 for 5 minutes, so you know, screw that. 10 minutes a day or 10 minutes to turn around is not worth a few percent in delay, if you ask me. Yeah, see, as you can see, the time in the day is kind of back a little bit. That's 16:20 now, so we can put another flight to Europe. Yeah, I think I'm good on Germany. Let's go ahead and take a look at France. Charles de Gaulle, Paris. The cargo demand is actually excellent, surprisingly, but the problem is that passengers just doesn't look good. When I do eventually compete with that, I guess I'll have to use 777s, but hey, what can you do? Sometimes you can't use the best plane for the job all the time. Oh, this is fantastic. This is exactly what I'm looking for. That's just the perfect amount of passenger demand, and you know, has some good cargo to boot. So Nice, you are going to be my next flight. It's kind of far, unfortunately, because most of the cargo demand is to Nice. So yeah, unfortunately, we're going to miss out on most of the cargo demand because at the payload range, we'll see in a second how much exactly I get, but it's probably not going to be too much, which is a little bit unfortunate. But oh, that's really bad. If it says it's, oh yeah, and the time is no longer good. Okay. So that's a problem. We're gonna need another short route. Where to though? Where to? We could look at China. China is too short to overnight even though, so I think we need to look at Indonesia. Maybe Jakarta. Jakarta's got decent cargo demand, but the passengers are just completely overrun. Denpasar, Medan. Do any of these? Oh, they do. Well, that looks excellent, actually. Let's just go through a couple more of these, see if they have any significant passenger demand. And they do not, so let's go for Medan. Let's open this route, you know, and we'll fill in some passenger demand. We'll get some cargo too, not a lot, but just a little bit. And we can take off at 16:20. Ah, that's annoying. I guess we have to go to India then. That's the only place we can go to, and I think we get decent. But there's no more flights to India. That's a problem. Maybe like Calcutta. Like I like the empty passenger demand. The problem is simply there's no cargo, and cargo is the bread and butter of these routes. It's not the passengers, it is the cargo. Ahmedabad, nope. Mumbai is a nope. So I guess we could look at North America. That is of course another option. Yeah, actually a route like this would be fantastic. As you guys can see, the 7-day schedule for Denver is not done yet, and there's so much cargo demand. Because I'm using the combi, I'm gonna be getting the smallest plane. So I should have a very, very good load factor anyway, so I think that's fantastic. Yeah, we can do something like that if the timing is good. I have no idea if the timing is good. I have no idea if the the wind is good, because if it's not, we don't get very good amount of cargo. But we'll find out in a sec. Yeah, the wind is the correct direction, so that's nice. And the time is fantastic too. Well, that's perfect. We can go ahead and open this route. Yeah, it's kind of refreshing to play a new location. I usually always play London or Europe hub. I've played United States many a time too, but it's really getting quite stale playing the United States over and over again, so I'm kind of glad to be doing something new. A route like... Why Atlanta is such a big cargo hub now? Interesting. It's being flown with 767, so I'll eventually 757 spam this. But the combi can't quite reach, unfortunately. So, well, it can reach, but if it does reach, then you won't be able to. Ooh. See, something like this is the cargo portion is just ridiculously oversupplied, but you get the passengers all to yourself, which is nice. See if Phoenix is any better on the cargo. Phoenix is much better on the cargo department. Let's do Phoenix then. Let's see if we can get an overnight flight too. So it's 22:30 is the time. Alright, 22, where is that? 22:30. And there are no slots whatsoever, and the time is bad. Fuck. Okay, so there's slots now, and then I think we just put a really long turnaround time on this. Yeah, I think that's the plan. Oh, no, we can't do that. Oh, that's frustrating. Okay, we gotta fly to Europe then. Yeah, this is in general how planning goes. Gotta fly to like Italy or Germany because the combi doesn't quite have the range for. Ooh, Italy is really far. I forgot. I think the UK is closer, actually. Yeah, I mean, you'd think Italy's closer because it's farther east, but Italy is also, actually, I don't know. How much is it? I think it is farther east than the United Kingdom, but it's farther south. And because the Earth is a sphere, of course, yeah, UK is actually closer. Birmingham. See, the passengers look fantastic, but the cargo doesn't look great. What about Manchester? Is cargo a little bit better? Well, the cargo is much better, but the passengers are much worse. You know what? I'll open Birmingham. I'll see how much demand I pull to it. Should be quite interesting. And Luton as well. Like, there's not a lot of cargo demand, but the passenger demand looks fantastic. And I do want to fly some passengers, so kind of annoying thing with passengers though is that I'm gonna need to develop company image, because long haul passenger demand is very affected by company image, and when you fly cargo, company image just does not matter, so you don't bother having any. So yeah, it's gonna be kind of interesting. Anyways, we arrive back. Oh, what is arrival time? 2:10. Shoot. Well, Europe doesn't work either, so where else do we have left? We have Australia, Oceania, but there's no cargo there. What can we do? What can we do, guys? Let's think. We could fly to Iran, but I don't want to waste that route. Ooh, this is tough. We could fly to China. Let's see if China has anything. China has cargo demand, which is important. It's got passenger demand, which is important. But most importantly, hopefully, I'm looking for just some good timings. Something like this would be good, even. Like, let's take a look at Guangzhou. Yeah, Guangzhou's not better. Alright, see if there's good timings on this. Like, you don't land in the middle of the night or something. China is all one time zone, which is kind of annoying. It means that, you know, flying east and west doesn't really affect the time that much, and yeah, as you can see, you get that. So there's only one other option, should be Urumqi, which is farther flight, but there's no passengers. No passengers, man. Okay, looks like China is not the solution, so where else can I go? There's Hawaii. I mean, that's a unique timing, that's for sure. Let's go to North America. United States, and it's got to be close, less than 4,000. Oh, that's not how to do 4,000. Alright, perfect. Honolulu, how's the cargo demand? Oh, it is just oversupplied to the roof, thanks mostly to passenger demand. Okay. Kahului, there's no passengers here. Anchorage, tiny bit of passengers. Fairbanks? Okay, well, hoping for Fairbanks was a little bit of a stretch, not gonna lie. But yeah, that's... Okay, here's the last option, is we don't bother. And, oh shit, that's the wrong day. And we do something like this. And then we just take off the next morning. It's a little bit of wasted time, but it's not too bad. So we gotta fit kind of just any flight we want here. Actually, would it be better to fit a really short flight to China and then a full-on flight to the United States or something, like to Denver? Let's see if I can find a short flight to China. Or should we do the long flight first? I don't know. Let's see what the timings work out to. So let's go ahead and try and open this Birmingham route again. Go ahead and open that up. We go to take off as earliest in the morning we can. Should be 7 something. There should be no slots in the 6 o'clocks left, I think. Yeah, we arrive back at 11, which should be enough time for a short flight to China. Yeah, this is good. I really hate having large open white spaces on the demand. Sometimes it happens, but sometimes it's completely avoidable, and you can do something like this with just a little bit of creative thinking. I need somewhere close-ish in China. Let's see, Shanghai Pudong. Nope, that's not what we're looking for. Qingdao. Not enough passenger demand. Shenzhen. Where else? Xiamen? Nope. The passenger demand is lower than I thought. That's a little bit of a problem. Really don't want to be flying completely empty passenger. Why is the passenger demand so low? Jeez. I had no idea. So I picked Kunming randomly and it just had good passenger demand. Was that a complete fluke? Like 300? Like, I thought like all Chinese, like Kunming is not nearly as big of cities as like Wuhan or Changsha. So I would have expected that those guys have better passenger demand, but that is not the case whatsoever. Yeah, nowhere else has any passenger demand. Kind of curious. Beijing has good passenger demand, but has good passenger and cargo demand, but the numbers are whacked. What about Guangzhou? Guangzhou actually probably has some cargo demand. Let's go ahead and try and open it. 14. It's not gonna fit. I can already tell. That's a problem. 14. And yeah, needs to be under 1,000 nautical miles or so. So that leaves us with Shanghai. The cargo demand, guys, is completely oversupplied, which means the money is completely oversupplied. Oh, something like this is better. Get like, I don't know, 15,000 cargo. And we'll get almost all of it. You know what? Let's open it. I think it's better than not flying. Alright, I think it's like money neutral. Oh, I accidentally clicked Shanghai. Well, Shanghai it is. Well, we made up our decision with complete luck. We'll go with that. I don't know about. I think the other one's better. I usually don't think this much about opening one route, but like, I'm on camera, so I'm kind of doing it for some reason. So let's go ahead and open Hangzhou. Oh, damn. Yeah, it looks like I really high rolled the cargo demand on the last try. Let's see if we roll again. See what we get. 113. That's thin. There's no cargo on the way. Okay, you know what? You know what? Yeah, it's better than not flying. It's better than not flying, guys. Let's do it. It might lose a little bit of money, this route. It's no big deal, though. Oh, really? Hangzhou's too far? Alright, well, funny story is we're picking Shanghai again, completely due to luck. Because the other one was too far. And why does Shanghai Hongqiao have international demand? Hold up, I thought that Pudong was the international airport. And okay, well, I don't get it. Let's go ahead and open this at like 13:55 maybe. I know we're gonna be like nickel and diming time, yeah. And land just before the airport closes. And there we go. Now, after this video is done, which, you know, let's call it here, I'm going to go on the forum and ask for the 747 freighter. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed. I've had fun. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.